commentator be, oh, he should have scored there. And like, all expected goals is doing is putting a number to that. I saw someone recently on social media saying, oh, I don't believe in expected goals. That's like saying I don't believe in tackles or I don't believe in shots.
Johnny, in the world of football now, or even professional sport dominated by data, can you bring us back to sort of the beginning and the evolution really that happened with the data analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Opta, it's our 30th birthday this year. So we've been collecting data for 30 years. Obviously, Premier League is one of the biggest leagues for our collection. We've got World Cup data back to 1966. We've got the likes of Pele, Maradona with their dribbles, their passes and shooting. But it's amazing the changes over those times. So I was speaking to some of the guys in the company recently about how we first started collecting the data, and they said that they would send guys on mopeds to every Premier League stadium at the weekend, and they would deliver the VHS tapes so that we could collect the data. So there'd be somebody at Highbury or Stamford Bridge, and they'd be driving the VHS tapes up to Leeds so that we could collect the data. And we actually found footage yesterday of what that looked like at the time. So it was guys with sheets of paper, writing in pencil of every single pass, every single shot collected. And the video is great. There's the TVs that they're using are kind of, I don't know, it's computer screens, but they're deeper than they are wide. So it's like it's a fascinating insight. So obviously back then, 30 years ago, it was incredibly manual, very pen and paper even. And then kind of early 2000s is when we kind of brought in the computer systems, and that's almost like a video game, a computer game. So you're clicking buttons, that pass started there, moved there, and now, as you can imagine, kind of the semi-automated aspect to it, the AI-driven, a lot of the data collection, still very much human in the loop in terms of maintaining that quality and being able to collect, goal mouth scrambles and goal corners. So you need the human to kind of make sure that there's stamp of quality on it. But a huge number of hours goes into that collection. I think
so. The technology is something that really help you, because obviously the AI, the time. As you pointed, when you do pen and pencil, and then you write it down, and you have to watch the tape, even finding sequences, it was not as straightforward. Obviously, I'm the generation that started with the tapes. Yeah. Because our team meetings were with the VHS tapes. But then nowadays everything becomes much more available.
And it has to be. It has to be live.
And obviously the world is demanding as well. Everything is fast. Can you create real-time data? Everybody wants everything now.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, the live element, the speed is everything. I mean, data is the currency of the world these days, whether it's advertising, is big tech, or even sports. Like, everybody needs that instant kind of proof, evidence. You live score apps, you've got the media, you've got everything. So yeah, it's evolved massively. You can imagine, I think back 30 years ago, probably not even, we probably had fewer data points, but we used to collect kind of 2,000 events per game. So that's like a tackle, pass, things like that. It's probably up to 3,000 now in terms of the core stuff. But when you involve tracking data, the numbers explode. You're nearly talking 3 million data points for every Premier League game.
What's the next thing to give me better probability of winning the game? Do you think there will be a scheme where it says, okay, change formation, because if you change formation, that area of the pitch will be your advantage to score more goals, and you increase your chances by 15% or whatever. Do you think we will live in that era?
I don't want to say yes, but I think the answer is yes. No, it's still probably a long way away, because as we've talked about, the human in the loop, the context is always going to be the most important thing. But I think the data is going to kind of fill in those gaps. You'll be able to simulate certain situations if you swap one player for another, how that affects both teams. There are models now that play out the rest of the game. So even we've done some modelling where if a player chose to play it inside rather than through the through ball, and we can play out the rest of that game like it's a computer
so
game.
We take, for example, Erling Haaland. Yeah, we know the ability he's got, the finishing, unbelievable finishing, strong. 1v1 space into the box. Most of the games, when you look, sometimes he looks like he's doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's not really, his link up is not as perfect at times. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. A lot of times, because the game is played in a lot of short possession, so he's not sometimes involved that much. If you just take his first, for example, 60 minutes, where he's not really that involved and his two involvements are probably failed actions, you might think like, oh, data-wise, take him out.
Yeah.
But then the human element, the coach, your teammates know, he doesn't need 17 actions to score a goal. So wait for his one. Okay, he probably failed in 2, but he just needs 3 actions in the game to score. So that's why you keep him there, because you know the player. Do you think that still people should be aware that it's not guaranteed? Okay, the data shows you something, but it should be really like the help to make a better judgment in terms of the human decisions in the football game.
And I think that's probably a common misconception as well, as like people also assume that the data stops at his actions, so his passes, his touches. So he probably does have the fewest touches in the Premier League for any player, just for the amount of minutes he plays. But actually, the data now records his off-ball movement as well. So we can say how many times he ran in behind and kind of what danger and chaos that caused. So data doesn't stop. It is measuring almost every aspect of the game. So at Opta, I always say, it's like we can tell any story with data now. We can answer any question that you've got. It's just that people assume the data is this big almost, and that now that we've got those millions of data points, you can measure those things. So
I always find it fascinating to see the conversion into number, because I go like, okay, the XG is that high, but does it take in consideration the opposition, the system, the people who are standing in between, how the number comes along? So, and I'm obviously interested in it, and I know, I pretty much know now, but could you kind of in a simpler way, for the normal, like a football fan who always wonders how the XG works, how does it work?
There's probably a few layers to it, I guess, is that, essentially at the bottom level, it's measuring the quality of every chance. So it's the same language people have talked about for years. As you said, like, I know the quality of chances, or like, the commentator be, oh, he should have scored there. And like, all expected goals is doing is putting a number to that. So I saw someone recently on social media saying, oh, I don't believe in expected goals.